What's the deal? This is Streams. I don't know what episode we on. We just gonna talk. But it's a Friday here in Detroit, and it was a really hot summer day until it started raining like it was a monsoon outside all of a sudden. So it's cool now, and I'm in the house chilling. Happy Friday, happy Clips Day. Let God sort them out. I plan on doing a video about that too. But in the meantime, this came across my desk, and I wanted to sort of give it a give it my take or whatever. Where is it at? So let's hear what this guy had to say. We're talking about Ticketmaster, just to get that out the way.
Live Nation and Ticketmaster are getting sued by the federal government, and this could change the music industry forever. Since 2019, the average price of a ticket has gone up 41%. And that's not just because of inflation. That's because Live Nation and Ticketmaster formed a monopoly. Live Nation owns the venues, they put on the tours, and surprise, they also own Ticketmaster, which accounts for over 80% of all ticket sales in the U.S. This is what the Department of Justice is calling a monopoly flywheel. You want to do a show at a big venue? You have to go through Live Nation. If you want to sell tickets, you got to go through Ticketmaster. If you try to go rogue and push back against it, they'll come in and cancel your tour
Yes, they
altogether.
will.
This is like real mafia type shit. So over the past few years, feds started to look into it, and they just filed a massive antitrust lawsuit along with 30 other states demanding for a full breakup of the monopoly. There's even a class action lawsuit going right now claiming that they owe fans hundreds of millions of dollars for overcharging for tickets. And other ticketing companies like SeatGeek and Eventbrite, they can't even compete because Live Nation controls exclusive deals with 260 of the top venues. So here's what happens now. Live Nation has to hand over millions of documents. I mean, emails, contracts, even Slack messages. Trial is set for March of next year. If we can successfully break up Live Nation and Ticketmaster, it will be a huge win for artists everywhere. Share this video with somebody who needs to know about it.
All right, shout out to Sync Money. I got that from there's an Instagram channel called Sync Money, SYNC Money. No space or nothing, no underscore, nothing like that. I've been following him for a minute because he does a lot of talking about music industry stuff, whether it's promotion, distribution, and stuff like that. And obviously, this kind of falls up under the umbrella of the sorts of things that he covers on his page on Instagram. Right, we're talking about live performance, the venues, and we're talking about ticket sales and stuff like that. Right now, I'm avid concert goer. I've been to I just went to 2 concerts in the last 3 weeks or whatever. I went to see Kendrick at the beginning of it was like the middle of June, and then I just went to see Wu-Tang literally like 3 days ago. Wu-Tang and Run the Jewels at Little Caesars Arena here in Detroit. I've been going to concerts since I was probably 11 years old. The first concert that I can remember going to was the Rough Riders Cash Money tour. Had to be like 2001, maybe 2000. I don't know what year that was, but I was pretty young, 11, 12 years old. And I definitely shouldn't have been there, right? But since then, I've been to dozens and dozens of concerts. I've seen Freddie Gibbs. I've seen Pusha T. I've seen Lupe Fiasco. I've seen Kendrick Lamar like 7 times. I've seen Ab-Soul, Schoolboy Q. I done seen all kind of shit. Melanie Fiona. It's a long list. I've seen Jay-Z, Justin Timberlake, all the people that you could probably think of. I've seen them in some way or some shape or form, right? And I love going to concerts. But one thing that I noticed going to concerts over the years is that ticket prices have soared, right? I remember, I don't, obviously when I was 11, 12 years old, I did not pay for those tickets. I was taken by my father. So I don't know what those tickets cost, but I do know when I started going as a young man in my teens, or I was 20 years old going to concerts. I was going to plenty of concerts. I was getting great seats, and we're talking about I'm maybe paying $150 for pretty good seats. Hey, can y'all be quiet? I was going to see concerts for probably $150 and getting really, really good seats for that price. Fast forward to 2025, and you're paying $150 to sort of sit up top. You're not even lower bowl. You're like, maybe second level. You're paying $150 or maybe $120 or In some cases, you're paying $200 to sit up top. It depends on who the artist is. And while I think a major contributing factor to that has been the growth of the music industry or these artists that I frequent, their fandom, their status have grown over time. Like the first time that I saw Kendrick Lamar was in a small theater here in a city that we have on the outskirts of Detroit called Royal Oak, in the Royal Oak Music Theater. I don't know what those tickets cost, but I'm pretty sure they were like $60 or something like that, right? And this was 2011. No, this is 2012, right before Good Kid, Mad City came out. Fast forward to me just seeing him about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. uh those tickets were $250, and I wasn't even up close. If I wanted to be up close, I would have had to pay three, four, five, $600 to get up close. Now I know a lot of that extra cost can be attributed to how big of an artist Kendrick Lamar has grown to since 2012. He's dropped arguably three classic albums. He's been all over the world. He's been on all sorts of different types of publications, and his name just carries a lot more value. But the bigger culprit here is Ticketmaster, right? If you've ever been to a concert, if you've ever been to a lot of events, whether it's Cirque du Soleil or seeing Jurassic Park live or Sesame Street on ice, whatever it is, you probably had to deal with Ticketmaster at some point in time. It's very rare that you come across an event that is going through another um I don't know what to call it, like sort of like distributor or whatever. And even sometimes when you go through other distributors, you end up seeing that they're either owned or operated or whatever by Ticketmaster anyway. Like if you go to Axis or whatever the name of that one site is, I think it's like AXS. Uh, and there's like a few other companies, and they're all sort of like they are their own platform, but they're backed or ran or sort of like bullied by Ticketmaster, right? Then a few years ago, one of the things that I found out about was this thing called dynamic pricing, where they'll change the price of your tickets based on how many times you've looked at them and how many times or how many other people are currently looking at the same seats. So if you and three other people are looking at the same seats or the same area, they'll dynamically affect the price of your tickets to get the best profit for the ticket, the best price or the best, on their end, the highest ticket price that they can get for these seats, because they want to make as much money as they possibly can. And I don't know, one of the things that I was just having trouble finding out was whether or not those ticket prices, when they go up dynamically, do the artists make more money, or is that just something that Ticketmaster is reaping the benefits of? I have no idea, but I would imagine that the artist sees a little bit of that surge as well. But I'm also a large comedy fan, right? I've been to see a lot of comedians. Louis C.K., say what you want to say about him. I don't really care. He's one of my favorite comedians. He's made a lot of mistakes. He said some things that he probably shouldn't have said, but that's what comedians do all the time. Every last one of them, they've all said things that were offensive or whatever. One of my favorite comedians is Louis C.K. Um, and I've been to see him maybe two or three times in a couple different venues here in Detroit. One of the times that I went to see Louis C.K. was in a venue called the Masonic Temple, right? It's one of our oldest venues in the city here. It's not very pretty. It's beautiful on the inside, but the building itself is really old. I think the Masonic Temple is like 150 years old as a building. And it looks like it, and you could tell when you go in. It's beautiful, but it's old. It's not. It's kind of ran down a little bit, right? One year, Louis C.K. comes to Detroit and he does his show there. I remember paying close attention to some of the things that he was saying, on his press run or whatever you want to call it, leading up to this tour this particular year. I think this was like 2017-ish or whatever. And he was talking about his struggles of bypassing Ticketmaster. And he wanted to book his own tour. and he wanted to do the show through his own platform and sell tickets to his fans directly. If you don't know who Louis C.K. is, or if you're not familiar with his platform, he has done a great job of like sort of like amassing a big contact list and sort of like communicating with his fan base directly, direct to consumer. He sells his specials on his website, louisck.com, and his specials go up. They might be $10, $5. Right now, he has a deal where he's selling every last one of his specials in a bundle for $30, and he's doing that all through his website, which is kind of like not usual. It's not typical for a comedian to distribute their stuff that way. Now, he has specials that popped up on Netflix, and they probably still are. And he's had specials be all over the place, right? But he also has it available, and he's probably had this negotiated in his contracts to where he could sell his specials direct to consumer for a fee of his choosing, right? And he doesn't have any red tape in the way of him doing that. Tremendous, right? That's a great thing for any artist to be able to do, from musicians and everything. Another artist on the music side that I could think of that has done a great job of building a consumer list is Alchemist, the producer. He's done all these designer mixtapes and albums with artists from Bodie James to Damo Genesis to Earl Sweatshirt, blah, blah, blah. If you go to, I think it's ALC.com or the ALC, whatever his website is, he's got all of his albums, or most of his albums, a lot of his albums, on his actual website for sale directly to me and you for a download. You might pay $10 and you could download the music directly. You could bypass Apple Music, and that gives him so much control over his product, and it gives us so much control over our purchase product as consumers, right? Now, one of the things that um, he mentioned while Louis C.K., one of the things that he mentioned while going through this war with Ticketmaster is that he was trying to book certain venues on his tour because he likes certain venues. Certain venues are really good for comedy, or they're famous and they're easy for, for people to recognize and whatever, people to get to. He tried to book certain places in Detroit. I believe it probably tried to book the Fox or the Fillmore Theater. They're bigger, they're nicer, they're newer, and they're famous, and they're used a lot for comedy. When Dave Chappelle comes to Detroit, he's at the Fox every time for the most part. Um, Louis C.K. was on stage and he was talking about how he could not book those places because those places are owned or they have deals with Ticketmaster. He literally said this on stage in front of me. He was saying that he didn't like the fact that they basically were bullying him and he had to go to shittier theaters to be able to book his own tour without the intervention of Ticketmaster. And he felt like they were sort of like monopolizing the space. And this is a conversation, like I said, this was 2017. We're talking about 8 years ago when he was having this conversation, right? And I'm sure that this has been a fight that artists of all sorts have been on the front line of. They've been fighting this war with this monster that Ticketmaster has become for decades, I would imagine. I actually just read something a minute ago. I lost the link, but it was something about Pearl Jam, I believe, sort of arguing and fighting with Ticketmaster about the fees that they were tacking on to the tickets that they were selling. Because you have to think, right? I built a customer base and I want to set a price for my tickets. And I want to be empathetic and sympathetic with my fan base. And I might be touring in poor places. I have fans in, let's just say, whatever artist you are, and you have a stop in Detroit. For a long time, Detroit has been known as one of those cities where it's kind of a poor city, right? Things are changing now, but regardless, there's a lot of poor people that live here, right? Shit, you looking at one of them, but there's a economical consideration that should be had with that. If you're going to a place that is notorious for having economic problems, then maybe you want to extend to your fans like, look, all of my tickets are $30 because I want to show love to my fans and show appreciation to my fans by being considerate with the ticket prices. I want you to be able to come and see me. I want the venue to be filled with fans that really love me and want to see me, not just rich people that can afford to see me, right? And then Ticketmaster comes in and say, okay, yeah, you could do that, but we're tacking on another 10, 15, $20 to the ticket because we want more money. And then you have a conflict with the artist where they're like, well, no, I don't want it. I don't want that, right? When I went to see Louis C.K., I believe his thing was every seat was the same price, whether you were front row or whether you were all the way in the back. And his logic was, one, I want to be considerate of my fan base and what they're paying to see me. And it's like, I understand that the better seats being the same price as the worst seats in the house is kind of like kind of sketchy or whatever. But his logic is first come, first serve. If you were really excited to see me and you want to see me and you go and you get the tickets before anyone else, then you got the best seat for the same price that anyone else, basically. So through that logic, your biggest fans, your best fans are going to be up front because they were so excited to get on these tickets that they got the best seats. You know what I'm saying? So, and then all the people that were sort of lackadaisical or missed the sale or whatever, y'all got to go in the back. I had pretty good seats and we all paid the same price. Now, that's something that you're not allowed to do through Ticketmaster. They won't let you do that because they want money. They're greedy. And I didn't even know that Live Nation owned Ticketmaster, but that makes things make so much more sense. And to be honest, I don't know how this is even legally possible. How are you allowed to be Live Nation and own the people that sells the tickets to your shows? It kind of seems like there's lots of conflicts of interest in that relationship dynamic there. But anyway, I wanted to pull up the rest of these articles that I found to sort of talk about, to show you what I mean. So after that tour that Louis C.K. did back in 2017, 2018, or whatever year that was, he ended up reverting back to Ticketmaster, right? And I found an article that talks about it. And I'm going to read a little bit of it. Where we at? So remove that. Why is it not showing up? There it is. All right. So it says, why did he start using Ticketmaster? They're talking about Louis C.K. He said, I don't get it. This is 3 years ago. He said, I don't get it. He has such a great thing going, keeping costs down for his fans. Now a $40 ticket is $60 with fees. I miss the days when that $40 was a flat charge. Like I mentioned, we all paid the same price, and I could get lucky enough to sit front row, right? And this was at his height. He talked about it here. He put a link here, and he said basically almost every venue uses Ticketmaster, so he doesn't have many choices, right? And I would imagine that his fight with trying to book this show, to book this tour with the obstacle of trying to backdoor Ticketmaster and move around them through every city. We're talking about comedians are touring the country and they might do 40 cities or 30 cities or whatever it might be, or even if it's a small tour, 20 cities. Imagine the logistics that goes behind contacting the venue on your own, or your team is doing it or whatever, booking a show, making sure the times and dates are lined up. This is why people have tour managers and stuff like that, so that these things are hard to manage. Timing, what dates are available at these venues, can I get in there? And then talking about ticket pricing and who's going to get paid and having the staff available and all of that sort of stuff. And then you have to think about setting up lights and sound and all of that stuff. Like, there's a lot to consider. And I do not envy the people that work in this realm, right? But it gets done. And I would imagine he got tired of fighting this fight and just said, man, fuck it, I'm gonna just use Ticketmaster. But let's click this link here.
Interesting to figure out who are these guys? Who books this place? How does this happen? And wonder if I can do some version of it myself. And also, when you sell your own tickets, when you go directly to fans, you get the Glengarry leads. You get if Ticketmaster and Live Nation sell your tickets for you, they get those emails, they get those contacts, they have control over your audience.
Yeah.
But if I have an email list that's people that have been coming to my live shows and buying my specials since way back.
You said two things I thought were interesting. One is somehow you managed to do the garden without Ticketmaster.
No, we didn't. Never got without. I did this 1 year where I was like, I'm not going to use Ticketmaster, not because I think they're evil. They're fucking smart.
Yeah,
they cornered a market.
Yeah,
but I saw that there was a way to get. We found it, eTix, this company that would do white label ticketing. It looked like it was just our tickets.
Yeah,
and their Ticketmaster's fees were $12.50 a ticket, and eTix was $1.50. And there's no difference between what the two companies do. So I used eTix so I could bring the fans' tickets down. It was $50 anywhere you saw me in any seat. And we hired guys to kind of stop scalping so that really fans were only paying $50.
That's great.
And the Garden said, we're not going to take you because we use Ticketmaster. And the Ticketmaster was run by a guy named Irvin something. And
well, this is where I want to pause it here, and I want to just point out that that's it's almost like the guy on the Sync Money video said, it's very mafia mob like. You know, they have this presence in all of the performing venues and all of entertainment all over the world, to the point where even if you do get in contact with the venue itself without Ticketmaster being involved in the communication, they're still going to stay loyal to Ticketmaster because they are making billions of dollars from their dealings with Ticketmaster. So they're going to say the Garden, the Madison Square Garden in New York City, is going to say, we're not fucking with you if you're trying to bypass Ticketmaster, because we fuck with Ticketmaster. We make billions of dollars with Ticketmaster. This motherfucker stay booked through Ticketmaster. We're not letting you come in here and not use Ticketmaster. So they'll deny you, cancel your show, or whatever it is they need to do.
We would go. This is a long story. I don't know if it's that interesting, but I
think this is go.
Well, we'd go to a city like Kansas City, and a Live Nation Ticketmaster has those rooms belong. They actually own those rooms. They're doing what I want to do. I respect it. They're buying the whole room. Fuck selling tickets. We own the room.
And they own the venue is what you're trying to say.
Right. They own the venue. And so you pay them rent. And your fans pay the ticket. All that stuff is going to them.
Double dip.
And then you get whatever's left. Your fans pay too much and you get too little. So we would go to a room that doesn't have a Live Nation, like a rundown shithole room, and would say, we'll do a show with you. And sometimes they'd agree. And then the next day, Ticketmaster would make a deal with them and rub us out because they saw what we were doing. And they went around.
I thought there was a Garden thing where you
no. So what happened was that I couldn't play the Garden. So like I did the City Center here, which was the only room that was not controlled. It's about 2,800 seats, I think. And I did it for 2 weeks every night, like 2 shows. I did something like 30 shows there, and it was a lot of money, a lot of work. But so then the next year, Irvin, what's his name, left Ticketmaster and went to MSG, and he kind of wanted to stick it to his old boss, so he gave me a deal.
Okay. So he ended up getting a workaround because the old guy was trying to stick it to his old job, and he said, "Okay, yeah, fine. Now that I work for Madison Square Garden, we'll let you in the back way." But I think this is an interesting conversation. And I think this is like, you know, as an adult now, the way that I see things, I just don't understand how this is even legally possible. Imagine you're you're a talent acquisition company or whatever you want to call Live Nation, right? They do everything from sign artists, making music. They probably own studios, and then they book the shows. Live Nation does festivals, tours, whatever you could think of. And then they own the rooms that the tours are happening in. And they own the company that sells the tickets too. There's no bypassing this beast. And this is exactly what a monopoly looks like. And this is why America doesn't allow them. But they do. They only allow them um, for their friends and shit like that, or until people complain enough. And then they have to superficially break it up and make it seem as if they're being ethical. But you have to think the power that can be enacted here when you own all the moving parts of a machine, the way that you can bully an industry, the way that you could shut certain people out and gatekeep and strangle an industry so that only certain people can eat. It's like you're playing favoritism, and then it grows to such heights that it becomes like, you know, the music industry is almost like a major import or export of America, right? And if you are controlling most of it, 80-90% of it, then you become a threat to literally the country and its people, right? And you make it so that you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. There is no free enterprise. You are the gate and the keeper. That's not fair. So they lost a lawsuit or something, according to the Sync Money guy, and they got to break this monopoly up and split the companies up so that they're separate entities, so that they do not have conflicting interests, and so that they cannot strangle this industry in the way that they clearly have been for the last 30 years. You know, tours back in the old days, way before I was born, was set up by calling venues or showing up to venues, asking to perform, and doing it the old-fashioned way, making phone calls, using your team, paying the rent fee, and doing the show. And you plan your tour. Simple as that. But now Ticketmaster has made everything much more complicated and much more umbrella-like, right? That's not cool. I got a few more things I wanted to look at here. We don't need to look at that. So I wanted to kind of go over what dynamic pricing was. I'm just going to read the Google summary of how they described it, right? I just want you to get a idea of how it works, because I think this is crazy, right? Dynamic pricing. Ticketmaster's dynamic pricing, also known as surge pricing, adjusts ticket prices in real time based on demand. When demand for tickets is high, prices increase, and when demand decreases, prices may drop. So it's a double-edged sword, but you can obviously see how that might, it sounds good on paper, but what good would it do them to drop the price when they could easily just not? You know what I'm saying? They could do it. The only way that I could see that realistically being an option is like closer to the start time or the start day of a show, and they still haven't filled the venue, so they may drop the prices because they are clearly not selling out and they want more people to come, so they'll sell it. I mean, they've done it for Pistons tickets with me. When I went to go to a game, me and my homeboy Brandon went to a game. I think they were playing were they playing Atlanta? I can't remember who they were playing, right? The Pistons was playing. Oh no, they were playing Boston. That's who it was. That was a time when the Pistons beat the Celtics because I think Jaylen Brown wasn't there. But anyway, we were sitting next to this couple, and I believe they were from Boston, or they had some sort of history with Boston because they were rooting for Boston. It was a man and a woman, a white guy and a white lady. They were like boyfriend and girlfriend, or dating or whatever. The boyfriend leaves and the girlfriend starts talking to me. And we were talking about the price of these seats. I was like, yeah, these seats. I was like, these seats are pretty good price or whatever. And I was telling her how much I paid for mine. And she was like, really? She was like, we got our seats for like $50. And I was like, what? And the funny thing is, when I was buying my seats, their seats were still available, right? Because I remember it was 4 seats, 2 in the aisle, 2 next to those 2 in the aisle. And we ended up, because when you bought them, you couldn't choose which seats you got. Ticketmaster or whoever it was, they just gave me whatever seats they wanted me to get. they gave me the inner seats, which is no big deal, right? But I would much rather have had the aisle seats because my legs are long as hell. So when I saw them, I was like, yeah, you all just got these tickets today, right? That was how the conversation started. She was like, yeah. And I told her how much I got my seats for. I'm like, pretty good price. And she was like, we got our seats for like $50. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah. She was like, we just bought them a few hours ago. Now you can see the closer we got to the game, her seats fell lower than my seats were. And I had bought mine the same day. It's just she waited a few hours closer to the start of the game. So they said, okay, well, these seats still haven't sold. What? Sorry. These seats still haven't sold. So they dropped the price to get somebody to buy them. Now, I can understand that. That's reasonable. It makes sense. But how often is that going to happen? I don't know. But the rest of it says the system is designed to reflect the market value of tickets, similar to how airlines and hotels adjust prices. Ticketmaster claims this practice helps give fans fair and safe access to sought-after seats, while also ensuring artists and event organizers receive appropriate compensation. Now, lately, we've been seeing tours break records every other month of who has the highest grossing rap tour, who has the highest grossing overall tour ever. And these tours are making billions of dollars in the span of 4 months. You know, while I'm happy that artists are able to do that, who's footing the bill? You and me. We are. Beyonce tickets being $1,000 and you're sitting way up in the air. It's crazy as fuck. You know, happy for Beyonce. I literally watched her career grow from nothing to being the biggest female artist on the globe. All right. But fuck you, bro. I don't want to pay $10,000 for me and my 4 friends to go to the show. I don't want to pay, a down payment on a house to go see a concert that lasts for 2 hours, bro. I think that's crazy. It's insane. So, I don't know, man. I think I got my point across. I think things are kind of getting out of hands when it comes to these concert ticket prices. I think dynamic pricing is really unfair. I was reading this article that I lost the link, but a guy was talking about, I think he was going to see Blink 182. He said one moment the tickets were one price. Everybody wanted the tickets. He went back and looked, and those seats were like $780, a seat. And he's like, what how? It's because, man, dynamic pricing. They know you want them and they know someone else wants them. So they're basically going to make you outbid the next person. I don't think that's fair. I think, like the thing said, airlines do it, hotels do it. Cool. I've been to hotels that were empty. They were like, yeah, we'll give you a room. We'll give you a room for, $80. We're running a special right now. You get this room for $70 a night. Normally it's $150. I've done that plenty of times with a few different hotels here in the city. But, but then there's another time, say there's an event in the city and there's a lot of bookings in this hotel. They down to their last 5 rooms. You getting waxed, gang. They're selling them rooms for $220 a night or some shit like that. They're on your ass. Same with flights. If nobody books that flight, there's people that know how to do that. They know how to get the cheapest flight based on when they book it. I don't know how to do that, but it's all based on whether the seats are empty the closer you get to the flight time. That's crazy to me, but it makes sense in one way, but it seems kind of predatory in another. I don't know. I'm done. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Ticketmaster is getting off. Hopefully this lawsuit changes things and we kind of, some of the savings come back to us because, boy, I don't want to pay $250 for every concert that I go to, bro. That's crazy. That's nuts. Holla at me, though, man. This is Streams. I'm Red. Greatest monologue on earth, man. Let's get it.